Coming up next on Kong, breaking news in the Beacon Hill neighborhood where a fire has quickly spread from a detached garage to at least one home nearby. King5's Drew Andre will have the latest from the scene coming up in 2 minutes. Go now, level 3 evacuation orders are in place around Lake Cushman as the Bear Gulch fire intensifies. A popular campground, trails, and even the lake itself are closed as locals begin to worry about tourism impacts.
I just don't really want people to be afraid to come here.
And in Kent, police are investigating the scene of an apparent shooting right outside of a bar. Dozens of shell casings littered this parking lot overnight. What we know so far as the investigation gets underway. And a huge trade deal came in just under the wire for the Seattle Mariners. Welcome back to Seattle's Gino Suarez, when we could see the fan favorite back at T-Mobile Park. Good Thursday morning to you. We hope it's off to an excellent start on this nice summer day. Of course, you're watching the Rose. Typically, Thursday is a little bit busier than others.
Yeah, and right now we're seeing things start to pick up, but no major issues on the road, so that's good.
We like it that way. And of course, Rich is live for us today. He's on a boat this morning, and he's going to be providing the forecast for us. So how are things looking out there, Rich?
It's actually, weather-wise, beautiful out here, though I have to correct you. It's definitely not a boat. It is a ship, and it's a big ship as well. It's an amphibious craft where they actually launched troops and such out of to land on shore, etc. So it's a chance. You have a chance to actually come down and tour this, and I think it's the USS Jack H. Lucas, which will be open from 10 to 3 today on through Sunday. It's all free. It's right near T-Mobile Park, so really easy to get to, but you need to have your real ID with you if you're an adult in order to get on board the ships. There's all sorts of displays out on the docks, even some food trucks if you want to stop by there. Might be a good thing to do on Sunday when the Mariners have a day game. Weather's going to be great for that. Let's take a look at what we're expecting for today. We do have some middle and high clouds moving in, but those are going to be just filtering the sunshine. There's that slight chance of a shower near the foothills later today and overnight tonight, but it's a very slight chance. Cooler today, mid-70s to low 80s. We are going to be looking for temperatures to cool a little more over the weekend. We'll have that forecast coming up.
As you prepare to head out this morning, this is a lookout on I-5 where through Federal Way things aren't as bad as we typically see, but of course you still have a little of that stop and go traffic. We'll take a look at your drive times coming up.
We're also following that breaking news out of the Beacon Hill area where a fire broke out from a garage and then spread to some backyard apartments. King5's Drew Andre is there live with the very latest. So Drew, what can you tell us?
Okay, Christine, so what you can see behind us here, this was the ADU in the backyard. Neighbors say it was still actually under construction, but look, this is all that remains of it. And that fire rode its way up towards the back of this home here, too, that's on the same property. Now, there was so much heat that was in the area. Even a little bit further away from that, you can see trash cans melted, even the bumper of some cars that are nearby. So there's a lot of neighbors that have been impacted by this. Let's show you some of the videos. This is from our from cameras that shows the flames that were just roaring here, and neighbors described it as happening just so fast. Let's go back to the scene here where firefighters, they spent a fair amount of time here in the backyard area making sure that they were putting more foam here and spraying the area down so there were no hot spots that picked back up. Just a little bit earlier this morning, I spoke with one of the neighbors who called 911.
I stood up out of bed and I looked out of the window because it's over my bed and saw this massive fire. They were building a building back here and it caught and went up.
Okay, yeah, so really a scary situation for those neighbors. They said they knew that could have been a lot worse, actually. There were some trees that were in the area that they could see the embers just falling on them, but thankfully firefighters arrived and no one was injured. They were all okay. So the big question here, of course, is we know that pretty close by that there have been reported arson cases. As soon as yesterday, there was a funeral home in Columbia City. So right now I'm told that that's under investigation, but it's too early right now to know if it could be related. Christine.
Right, Drew. Thank you for that latest update. And speaking of which, this morning there is a new $10,000 reward posted to find the person behind several fires set to Seattle buildings this week. Investigators say the arsonist intentionally set 4 fires in the Mount Baker and Columbia City neighborhoods, including 3 on Wednesday. The biggest fire gutted the historic Columbia Funeral Home. Investigators used traffic camera footage to capture someone setting a fire to that funeral home. You can see it in the video. That person then takes off running as flames quickly overtake the building. Just 40 minutes after the funeral home fire, about a mile away, a home under construction on Hanford Street went up in flames. Investigators believe that was also intentionally set. They're using surveillance cameras and other leads now to identify and track down the person. Right now along Lake Cushman, evacuation orders are in place as the Bear Gulch fire intensifies. It has now grown to nearly 2,000 acres in size and is right now threatening a handful of structures, a campground, and popular trails. The fire has now been burning for 25 days, but in just the past week, it's more than doubled in size. Containment of the fire has also taken a hit in recent days. At one point, firefighters reached 19% containment, but as of this morning, they are back down to just 3%. Several trails around the Olympic National Forest and park areas are also closed today. That includes the Upper and Lower Mount Eleanor Trail, the Elk Lake Trails, and the Wagon Wheel Lake, just to name a few. Right now, we're following some breaking news out of King County, where police are investigating a shooting at a bar in Kent. This happened outside the In Between pub on 104th Avenue Southeast. This is right around the corner from Kent Meridian High School. Officers left the scene in the last hour or so after being called there around 2 o'clock this morning. Our crew was the only one on scene as officers recovered more than 24 bullet casings found outside the business. A door at the bar also appeared to have at least 3 bullet holes on it. Our crew also saw one man in handcuffs. No word yet on if anyone was hit by that gunfire. The man accused of shooting a Lummi Nation police officer is now charged with attempted murder. Prosecutors say 23-year-old Jesus Abraham Penuelas Agramon fired a stolen gun 10 times at the officer. A bullet grazed the officer's head, but he was also shot in the legs and stomach. This morning, the 37-year-old officer recovering in the hospital after 2 surgeries in a medically induced coma.
It does spark some emotions, but also it's an alert to everyone in the community that these things can happen.
The shooting happened early Monday after the officer tried to help at a crash scene. Body camera images show the suspect's truck in a ditch and the shooter then crawling out moments before the shooting. He ran from the scene but was found and arrested a day later. A fund has been set up to support the officer's recovery. You can text the word officer to 206-448-4545 and we'll send you a link. All right, well, turning our attention to the forecast again, it is Fleet Week in Seattle, and the parade of Navy and Coast Guard ships sailed into Elliott Bay earlier this week on Tuesday. They're now docked at Pier 46. That is where meteorologist Rich Maria joins us now aboard, I believe, the USS Somerset. Is that where you are, Rich?
Yep. That's where I am, and we also have the USS Jack H. Lucas, which is also in port here that you can tour coming up starting today, 10 to 3 o'clock. You can come down here, go for a tour through the ship. So you need to have your real ID if you're an adult before you can board the ship. There's also going to be a lot of displays out on the dock as well, and good weather for it. As a matter of fact, we're going to see more clouds today, but it's just going to be filtering the sun, and might see some of those showers popping up over the Cascades later on. Take a look outside. You can see the Tacoma Tower cam showing those clouds that have kind of, well, we could see Mount Rainier earlier. It's kind of gone away for the time being. Our forecast does call for partly to mostly sunny skies today. Temperatures, those are going to be running mostly in the upper 70s and low to mid 80s around the Central Sound. As we drop southward down towards Tacoma, about the same. We'll be looking for partly sunny this afternoon, upper 70s and low to mid 80s. If you're headed out towards the coast today, well, you'll see a little bit of sun peeking out, but overall a lot of marine deck clouds. Temperatures mostly in the low 60s and sunny and heating up if you're headed towards the eastern portion portion of the state. Ellensburg checking in the low 90s, and we're looking for Wenatchee cooling down from the almost triple digits they had yesterday, but still mostly in the mid to upper 90s. So some really hot weather there. But here on the west side of the Cascades, things looking really good. A good chance to celebrate Fleet Week. Come down. There'll be members of the Navy, Coast Guard, and the Marines down here that you can meet and talk to and tour these ships. And they have very interesting stories. And I'm going to talk to a couple of crew members, which actually come from Puget Sound, coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Rich, we are looking forward to that. Thank you very much. And let's get it over to Shantae for a look at the roads. Any slowdowns out there?
Well, Christine, I'm tracking one right now on I-5 southbound for those of you heading out in Mount Lake Terrace and working your way on into Seattle this morning. It literally just cleared moments ago out here near Highway 104. So it was going southbound, and that's where we had that center lane blocked. I put an arrow there just showing you where it is. But what you will notice is even past there, you have that long line of red. So that's something to keep in mind for those of you about to head out and make that trip from Everett to Seattle.
All right, thank you very much, Shantae. And still ahead, a fan favorite is coming back to the Mariners. We'll tell you what led to Gino Suarez's return to Seattle, plus when you could see him on third base at T-Mobile Park. Plus, a local professor gets the ride of a lifetime alongside the Blue Angels. That story, plus when you could spot them in the Seattle skies today. Live look outside from our camera overlooking one of the ships that's right now docked at Pier 46 for Fleet Week. We'll be right back with after this quick break. Stay with us. This morning, 2 people are in the hospital after a small plane crashed into a home in Chelan County. Take a look. You can see the plane landed right on the home's roof. This happened last night in Kashmir between Leavenworth and Wenatchee. 2 people in the plane are being treated with injuries. No word yet on how they're doing or what caused the crash. Take a look at this. You're looking at Ruidoso, New Mexico, which was yet hit again by flash flooding from summer monsoon rain. The National Weather Service issued a flash flood emergency, urging people there to seek higher ground. This is Ruidoso's 12th flash flood warning this month. The area was devastated by deadly wildfires last June, leaving a massive burn scar above the town. Wildfires burn away natural vegetation, and that can increase the risk of flooding and mudslides because burned soil can be water repellent like pavement. Since last year's fires, Ruidoso has had 45 flash flood warnings, causing extensive damage and several deaths. The tsunami threat in Washington state is now over. Here is a closer look at how those tsunami waves traveled, rippling from the epicenter off Russia's coast all the way to Hawaii and even our beaches, all the way down south as well to South America. This happened after a massive magnitude 8.8 earthquake struck just off Russia's east coast. It is tied for the 6th strongest earthquake ever recorded. Dozens of aftershocks of magnitude 5 or greater followed. The waves on Washington's coast topped out at just over a foot, not enough to cause any damage. But public safety officials with Grays Harbor County stayed up all night monitoring data in case the public needed to take action. Some beachgoers we talked to said they were ready to evacuate.
We would have been out of here. No, you don't push chance and fate that closely.
Tsunami advisories are not that rare out on the coast. There was one in 2018 and in 2022. There was no damage from those either.
Ready, hit it. Let's go. All right, now you can look around and enjoy the view. Oh, it's wonderful.
Isn't that amazing? A UW professor took his aeronautics expertise to new heights, literally. Professor Jim Hermanson has spent decades studying jet and spacecraft propulsion here on the ground. But yesterday, he got the chance to ride with the Blue Angels.
We got up to 7.5 Gs. So it's just suddenly you're on your side, basically.
Hermanson said the flight gave him first-hand experience into what he teaches in class. By the way, the Blue Angels are taking flight in Seattle today for practice. The pilots will be doing their practice run today from 11 to 1 p.m. and then again for a second round at 3:30 this afternoon. Their first show officially for Seafair is tomorrow at 3:35. Tickets are still available. It's also Fleet Week in Seattle. This is when the parade of the Navy and the Coast Guard ships sailed into Elliott Bay earlier this week on Tuesday, and they're now right now docked at Pier 46 in Soto. So that's where meteorologist Rich Maria joins us now aboard the USS Somerset. That's so cool where you're on board, and it looks like you have someone to talk to, too.
I do. I have a couple of members of the Marines and the Navy who happen to be Puget Sound natives here. So it's kind of a little bit of a homecoming for them, and I just wanted to check in with them and see what their path had been to bring them here right now. First, I'm going to talk to this Lieutenant Commander Kranz, and we also have Corporal Neely here with us. But Lieutenant Commander, so what caused you to get into the Navy, and what's your experience been like?
Seafair growing up here in Puget Sound, I saw the ships here and the ship come for Seafair. Super excited to come visit them and thought it was a fantastic experience. So I went to the Naval Academy and college plus a job to serve my country. You can't beat traveling the world like that.
Well, how have you enjoyed it so much?
I've found it fantastic. I've been to so many different countries experiencing the planet, and I'm thrilled to be able to come back to Seafair and to share the awesome adventures that the Navy offers.
Great to have you back in Seattle, and you're a Bellevue native, right? Yeah. Yes. And apparently she didn't grow up very far from Corporal Neely, so what brought you into the Marines?
I've just always wanted to serve my country and give back, so this is the best way I've found to do it.
And what's been your most interesting experience you've had so far?
I was deployed to Japan for 6 months, a great time. Foreign food, cuisine, culture, it was all very fun.
So in terms of your duties, well, first, Corporal Neely, so you actually, this is an amphibious ship where they actually launch, land on shore and such, part of the Marines. What is that like for you?
It's a bumpy ride on the little rubber crafts, but it's a fun time. Yeah, it's great.
Lieutenant Commander, what's your role?
With the chief engineer on board for maintaining and operating the plant and making her go through the water, but also all the vital life-saving systems as well. As the Fibron Amphibious Squadron, as the repair officer.
That seems like a really important role. Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much. You guys will be down here this weekend? Excellent. Yes, you can come down and meet them in person, and we're going to have some great weather for it, as a matter of fact. We take a look at the 7-day forecast. Today, we're going to see a lot more clouds around. We're going to be seeing the temperatures cool a little bit from what we had yesterday when we got up into the mid to upper 80s in quite a few spots. And today, we're cool back to the upper 70s and low 80s. Not looking too bad. As we head towards tonight, late today and on into overnight tonight, we're going to see some storms up in the Cascades and showers. Some of those could drift into the Cascade foothills here on the west side. Doesn't look like there's going to be very many of them at this point, but there is that possibility. We'll keep close track of that. But as we head towards later tomorrow, that risk should be gone. As we move into the weekend, it's going to be basically morning clouds and afternoon sun. Temperatures in the 70s and low 80s Saturday and Sunday, mid 70s for all the activity on Sunday. And then next week it looks like partly sunny, except for a chance of a few showers on Tuesday, and those high temperatures mostly in the mid 70s. So it looks like great seafarer weather. Not as warm as some might want, but I think if you're sitting out in the sun all day on the shores of Lake Washington watching the hydros and taking a look at the Blue Angels, that might be a little bit more livable temperatures for you.
Seems just right. Okay, thank you very much, Rich, and so cool to hear from them as well, right on the board, the USS Somerset. Thank you so much, Rich. And by the way, you can tour those ships and meet the sailors yourself down at Pier 46 through Sunday. A reminder, though, that you must bring your government-issued real ID for anyone 18 or older. And don't forget, the hydro races and the Blue Angels air show kick off tomorrow. Rich, by the way, will be live again out at Boeing Field tomorrow morning, so be sure to join us for that. Let's get to Jake Wittenberg now, actually, with another highlight happening at T-Mobile, Jake.
Yeah, hey, good morning, Christine. Good morning, everybody. Some incredible Mariners news as you wake up this morning. Good vibes are returning to Seattle because last night, MLB sources confirm Eugenio Gino Suarez, a third baseman for the Diamondbacks, is headed back to Seattle. He may be just what the team needs to make a final push into the playoffs at the end of the season here. Haven't been since 2022. They're trying to get back this year. First, here is what last night's trade looks like, according to sources with the MLB and ESPN. Gino Suarez comes back to Seattle, but in exchange, the Diamondbacks get 3 players from the Mariners, first baseman Tyler Locklear and 2 right-handed pitchers, Hunter Cranton and Juan Burgos. This season, Gino has just been terrific for the Diamondbacks, too. We're lucky to get him back. He has 36 home runs, 5th in the league, and he has had 4 in one game. That was back in April. This morning, he's tied with our Cal Raleigh for most RBIs in the season, too, which is incredible. before the Mariners traded him, too. He was fantastic here as well in 2022, leading the team with home runs and one of the top on-base percentages on the team as well. Christine, when are we going to see him play for the Mariners? We've got a 10-game homestand just now beginning. Gino got hit in the hand with a fastball last week, earlier this week. X-rays were negative. Pending this health evaluation, we're told he could come back at any time. Just what the Mariners need him in the middle of that lineup.
Right, and this is a critical time for the Mariners right now, this part of the season. They're sort of at that brink, right, of being at the top of the AL.
Yeah, one of the complaints among fans is that it doesn't feel like management is trying hard enough to get into the playoffs. These trade deadlines come and they go, and the Mariners never seem to sort of make these big deals. This is putting a lot of fears to rest. This is a big deal.
All right, well, we'll be watching. Thanks so much, Jake.
You bet.
We'll be right back after this.
King 5's First Alert Weather Cams, sponsored by Southwest Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric.
Good boy. Hey, good boy. Yeah.
High praise for a Snohomish County canine officer after helping to find and apprehend domestic violence suspects running away from officers. As King 5's Maddie White reports, he has helped capture at least 2 suspects in just 3 days.
Drones help officers in many ways, but when it comes to finding runaway suspects, there are some things only canines can like tracking the scent of a human. Sunday morning, someone in Snohomish County called 911 saying they'd been physically attacked by a man in their household. When deputies got to the home, the suspect ran away, but he was no match for the county's canine named Knox. This good boy and his partners tracked the suspect into thick blackberry bushes.
Let's go, get him, Knox.
Soon enough, Knox found him hiding. He bit onto his shoe and successfully apprehended him. And if you think that Snohomish County canine deserves a treat for that, just wait till you see this. Just 3 days prior, that same canine helped to get another dangerous suspect behind bars. This, too, was a domestic violence call. Deputies responded to a call about someone spraying a person with bear mace and striking their car with an axe before running into the woods near Monroe.
Call out! I'm not giving up! You're under arrest!
For more than an hour, Knox and sheriff's deputies searched relentlessly, uphill and through the woods and wetlands, until eventually the suspect was flushed from his hiding spot and deputies took him into custody.
Welcome back. It is coming up on 7:30 on your Thursday morning. And check this out. It is the 100th annual Chincoteague Pony Swim in Virginia. Saltwater cowboys herded wild horses from Assateague Island across the channel to Chincoteague Island. It only took the ponies 4 minutes and 38 seconds to make that swim. Just incredible. The pony swim originated in the 1800s. It teaches the young ponies how to swim across while the tide is relatively calm. Today, some of the ponies will be auctioned off, and tomorrow they'll swim back across the channel. It's just amazing how animals seem to instinctively know how to swim.
Right, how they can
just go
just
at it.
adapt.
Yes, absolutely. That's very cool to see this morning. Okay, turning to our attention to the traffic. Hopefully it's not too crazy out there. We're going to get a bigger update a little bit in just a moment.
Yeah, and you know, actually it's kind of slow for a Thursday, so that's good news.
We like hearing that. Okay, let's turn our attention to the forecast now. So Rich is live for us outside near Pier 46 in Seattle. You're aboard the USS Somerset, a warship out there. How are things looking? It seems like a beautiful morning.
It has been a beautiful morning. We've had a good time hanging out with the, we have folks from the Navy and the Marines here, and there are Coast Guardsmen around as well for Fleet Week here at Pier 46, right down by T-Mobile Park. Very easy to find, as a matter of fact, and good weather for it. If we check out the weather today, a lot more clouds around than we had yesterday, as where that moisture we've been talking about all week is making its way up from the south, but it looks like it's going to mostly stay up in the Cascades and eastward, so the risk of seeing those drift out west a little bit less than what it was. So partly to mostly sunny. We'll look for highs today in the mid-70s to the low 80s. It looks like we're going to cool a little bit as we head into the weekend, but otherwise it's going to be an absolutely spectacular seafair weekend headed our way, and we'll have all the details coming up, including what's going on down here for Fleet Week.
As you prepare to head out this morning, we are off to a much calmer start on this Thursday, but still dealing with some congestion here on I-5. This as you work your way on into Kent this morning. We'll take a look at those drive times again in a few moments.
And here are 5 things to know as you start your morning. Former Vice President Kamala Harris will not be running for governor of California next year, despite widespread expectations. She released a statement saying, in part, "My leadership in public service will not be in elected office." Harris added that she'll share more information about her plans later on this year. Investigators are working to find out what caused a small plane to crash into a home in Chelan County. This happened last night in Kashmir between Leavenworth and Wenatchee. The plane ended up in the roof of the home a quarter-mile beyond the end of the runway at Kashmir Dryden Airport. 2 people on board were taken to the hospital. The extent of their injuries is unknown. The man accused of shooting a Lummi Nation police officer is now charged with attempted murder. Prosecutors say 23-year-old Jesus Abraham Penuelas Agramon fired a stolen gun 10 times at an officer who stopped to check on the crashed pickup truck he was in. The officer was grazed in the head by a bullet and hit in the legs and stomach. He is in the hospital in a medically induced coma. This morning, police are investigating a shooting outside a bar in Kent. This happened around 2 at the In Between pub. This is on 104th Avenue Southeast. Officers recovered more than 24 bullet casings from the parking lot. A short time ago, we saw police speaking with a man in handcuffs who was then taken into custody. We don't yet know if anyone was hit by the gunfire.
I'm Drew Andre in Beacon Hill this morning, where we are covering a fire here. Excuse me. There was an ADU that burned in the backyard of this home in Beacon Hill. As you can see, it is gone now. And as you look a little further up, you can see all of the damage there to the backside of this home here in this Beacon Hill neighborhood. Now, this broke out around 5:20. That's when neighbors called 911. But there was so much heat coming off of this fire, too. Everywhere around us here, you can see some of the damage there, like these cars here in the neighbor's yard. A lot of heat that was here, but right now this is being considered suspicious in nature. We just spoke with the police detective earlier.
At this point, I can't definitively say that that was the same individual. So that is part of the investigation. We just don't know that for sure yet.
They are trying to determine if it could be connected to 2 other fires that took place yesterday. The police detective said that there is an arsonist in our midst, so we are going to continue to follow this. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Drew, we're going to continue to check on that. Thanks very much. Well, now to the wildfire burning this morning in Mason County. Right now along Lake Cushman, there are new evacuation orders as the Bear Gulch fire intensifies. It is threatening a handful of structures, a campground, and some popular trails. The fire has now been burning for 25 days, but in just the past week, it's more than doubled in size, now almost to 2,000 acres. King 5 Savannah Welch joins us now in studio. So, Savannah, there is some concern that this could impact tourism in the area.
Yeah, Christine, residents and small business owners are worried that this fire is scaring off tourists, and tourism season is critical for communities around Lake Cushman. So this is really a big problem for the area. Level 3 go now evacuations were issued early yesterday morning. That includes the Staircase campground. The area south of Dry Creek is under a level 1 notice. That means be ready to leave. As the firefight continues, many volunteers have been gathering weekly to cook and serve breakfast to firefighters.
I just think that's really what community does, you know. We all come together because this is where we live, you know. It's important to take care of each other as they take care of us. You know, they're the real heroes out there doing the risking it all, really.
The Mason County Sheriff's Office has also shut down Lake Cushman to all boats, including canoes and paddle boards. That's to make way for aircrafts that are scooping water out of the lake for drops on the fire itself. Now, if you're interested in joining that volunteer group, they're meeting tomorrow at 7 a.m. They're meeting in front of the parking lot of Hood Sport Ace and Lumber. Savannah Welch, King 5 News.
Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia's loss is our loss as well.
The Chelan County Sheriff's Office is using training as an opportunity to continue its search for Travis Decker. He is accused of murdering his 3 daughters. This team is training now for swift water rescues in Icicle Creek, a location they chose specifically to look for Decker. The chief says the intensive search in June took a toll on his department's budget.
We want to continue that effort, but make sure that we're allocating our funds appropriately so we can make it through the year and don't have to walk across the street and ask for additional funds from our Board of County Commissioners unless absolutely necessary.
So they did not find any clues from that particular training search, but the sheriff says that his office is in it for the long haul. A proposal to lower taxes for most Seattle businesses is one step closer to appearing on the November ballot. A city council committee advanced it on Wednesday.
Today's work is to build the strongest shield we can around small businesses and the city programs we need. And I believe that when we give Seattle voters the choice they deserve, they will choose to shield our city and protect what matters most.
Councilmember Alexis Mercedes Rink says the measure cuts taxes for 90% of Seattle businesses. It would also secure $90 million in net revenue to prevent cuts to critical city programs. The city faces a $250 million budget shortfall right now. The bill will be considered by the full council on Monday. Well, you might have seen them glide on by along Elliott Bay, and parked right there at Pier 46 is a USS Somerset docked right on the waterfront because it is all part of Fleet Week. The parade of Navy and Coast Guard ships sailed into Elliott Bay earlier this week on Tuesday, and they're there for you to enjoy and view and even visit if you have a chance to make it out there. It's actually where meteorologist Rich Marriott joins us now. So, Rich, it seems to be a beautiful day to be on that warship. Just fantastic.
It is beautiful. We're back here on the helipad in the stern of the ship, and but it has been a nice morning out here. Now getting a little bit of sunshine, which is kind of helpful. But yeah, this is going to be available to tour starting today through Sunday, along with the USS Jack H. Lucas, which is also here in port. Though, if you want to get aboard the ships themselves, you have to have a real ID, a government-issued ID if you're 18 or older in order to get aboard. So keep that in mind. But it's going to be great weather for doing that today and really all through the weekend, though a little bit less sun than we saw yesterday. Take a look out right now. You can see the clouds kind of moving through the Bellingham area at the moment, and we're going to see that sun filtered by these middle and high clouds, that moisture we've been talking about all week moving up from the south. But it looks like most of the shower action is going to stay the Cascade Crest eastward. Chances of it drifting out over the foothills still exist, but not quite as great as it was before. So our forecast for today pretty much is partly to mostly sunny. We'll see the clouds kind of come and go. High temperatures today a little cooler than what we saw yesterday around the sound, but that might be a plus for a lot of folks. Temperatures in the upper 70s and low 80s around the central sound, and probably low 70s up there towards Whatcom County. If you head down around Tacoma and Olympia, we'll look for those highs mostly in the low to mid 80s, and if you're headed out towards Hoquiam, we'll look for very few sights of the sun with temperatures mostly in the mid 60s. Sunny and hot in eastern Washington with temperatures anywhere from the low to mid 90s. We are going to be looking for temperatures to cool a little bit as we head into Seafair weekend, but overall it's going to be great conditions to be outside enjoying all the events. We'll talk about some of those coming up in just a couple minutes.
All right, Rich, thank you very much. And I like what it says back there behind you. Let's roll. So hopefully people can see that later on this weekend. Okay, thanks so much. Yeah. Let's get it over to Shantae for a look at the roads. How are things shaking out there?
As you prepare to head out this morning, there was a crash here on 405 as you worked your way out near Newcastle in Coal Creek Parkway. It is now clear. It was going on in the southbound lane, so that's why you see a little bit of yellow here on the map where that arrow is. But overall, off to a pretty slow start on this Thursday, especially compared to what we were dealing with on yesterday. You can see some red in some of those hot spots, about 70 minutes right now if you're making a trip from Tacoma to Seattle, 46 minutes from Puyallup to Renton.
Thanks very much, Shantae. And still ahead, a big change is coming to a popular airline regarding seating arrangements. How your next flight will be different and potentially pricier. Also ahead, President Trump is set to rewrite the rules of global trade just after the clock strikes midnight tonight. What changes you can expect. And before we head to break, a live look outside from our Queen Anne Tower Cam. Just a beautiful morning on this Thursday. The clouds beginning to part and some blue sky peeking through. We'll be right back with more local headlines after this. This morning, a days-long manhunt is finally over after Arkansas State Police arrested the man they believe murdered a husband and wife. He is accused of killing them at a state park this weekend. Kristen and Clinton Brink were brutally attacked and killed while on a family hike with their two young daughters. Their girls, just 7 and 9 years old, both witnessed the attack and ran for help.
We were able to take a monster off the streets and bring relief to Clinton and Kristen's precious girls.
One of the worst experiences that certainly I've ever had was making a phone call to the Brink family earlier this week.
Police arrested 28-year-old James Andrew McGann yesterday at a barber shop about 25 miles from where the killings took place. He is now facing 2 counts of capital murder. For now, the sprawling trails at Devil's Den State Park where this happened remain closed. Boeing is preparing for a possible strike at 3 fighter jet plants in the St. Louis area. Those plants employ some 3,200 union workers. The workers rejected a proposed contract on Sunday that included a 20% wage increase over 4 years. Union leaders had recommended approving the deal. Workers could strike as soon as Monday. Southwest Airlines has officially started selling tickets with assigned seating. Travelers can now pick their seats in advance for an extra charge on flights beginning January 27th. Other flyers will be assigned a seat at check-in. It's a big change for the budget airline, which up until now let passengers choose any open seat once they boarded. Southwest is also changing its boarding process. It will board by fare type like most other carriers. The $4 trillion club on Wall Street is pretty exclusive, and overnight it gained its second member. Microsoft has now achieved a market capitalization of $4 trillion. That puts it as the second most valuable company in America behind chipmaker NVIDIA. Microsoft reported 18% revenue growth on Wednesday. The company's Azure cloud computing business is fueling most of its recent growth, but while the company is celebrating those gains, it has also laid off thousands of workers in recent months. In May, it cut about 6,000 workers, including nearly 2,000 of its employees here in Washington. And earlier this month, it sent out more layoff notices. This morning, Microsoft's stock is surging up around 5% in early trading. It is Fleet Week in Seattle, and the parade of Navy and Coast Guard ships sailed into Elliott Bay earlier this week. They are right now docked at Pier 46. Some of you might have seen them. You can also tour those 2 Navy ships. Very, very cool chance. Meteorologist Rich Marriott has been on board one of them, the USS Somerset. Rich, you've been there all morning. It seems like the sunshine might be peeking through. What can we expect in terms of the forecast in coming days?
It's trying hard to peek through here, and occasionally it makes it out. And it's been a beautiful morning out here overall. I actually was wearing my yellow jacket when I got out here, and it was too warm wearing it, so I finally had to take it off. You don't normally say that in a Seattle morning, that's for sure. We're going to be looking for some great weather here for Seafair, it looks like. We're coming down for Fleet Week here at Pier 46, which is just short walking distance from here to T-Mobile Park. So if you're down in Soto, easy to get over here. It's a free event. There's the Jack H. I have to look at it. The Jack H. Lucas, I keep saying, I want to say something else. Jack H. Lucas is also here in port. You can tour those ships as long as you come along with a real ID, your enhanced driver's license or a passport. Then you can get aboard as an adult. Children under 18 don't need to have that ID, and it's going to be great to be out and about. You can see if we take a look at that Port Andrews tower cam, we do have some clouds that work their way in from the coast, a few marine deck cloudings, but that's really all we're dealing with. And you can see as we check elsewhere, a little bit of filtered sunshine getting through in places like Everett and also in Tacoma, but definitely not as sunny as what we were looking at yesterday, nor as hot. We got into the mid to upper 80s down there in the South Sound, so it was a little on the toasty side. You see on our first alert 7-day forecast, we're in pretty good shape. We will see still that kind of a risk of a shower near the foothill areas later today and tonight into early tomorrow, but then that goes away. A dry Seafair weekend and just kind of morning clouds and afternoon sun, which bodes well for also for the hydros, for the Blue Angels, and for coming down here to Pier 46 and touring through the ships and meeting. You'll see Navy, Marine, and Coast Guard down here this weekend and get a chance to chat with them. And occasionally, we talked a little earlier this hour to some of the people who originated here in Bellevue and in the Marines and in the Navy now. Checking that satellite image, you can see we've got that moisture down there to the south, a little spinning its way up through the northern Oregon border. That is going to push its way into the Cascades later on, and that's going to give them showers and a thunderstorm, but it looks like most of that should stay up in the Cascades. So forecast for today is for partly to mostly sunny, that chance of a shower near the foothills late today into early tomorrow. Highs today and tomorrow under partly sunny skies, upper 70s and low 80s. The weekend, morning clouds, afternoon sunshine for all the goings on. Temperatures in the 70s and 80 degrees Saturday, mid 70s Sunday. Next week looks like mid 70s, partly sunny and maybe a chance of a shower right around Tuesday, but otherwise we continue with what's been and is continuing to be a really, really nice summer.
All right, it is indeed. Thanks very much, Rich, for that check on the forecast. Well, as expected, the Federal Reserve decided to leave interest rates alone. It marks the 5th time in a row that the Fed has decided not to adjust despite growing pressure from President Trump. The Fed's reasoning is to keep inflation in check and to see if the president's tariffs have a major impact on prices. Their next decision on rates will be in September. Meanwhile, we are just hours away from when the pause on President Trump's sweeping tariffs will come to an end. The suspension of reciprocal tariffs ends at midnight tonight, and the president put the tariff rates on hold as a means to strike new deals with U.S. trade partners. In the last week, he announced a new trade deal with the European Union, and while a framework has been announced with China, talks this week failed to finalize a deal. The most recent deal is with South Korea, which was announced yesterday and includes a 15% duty. This map right here shows other tariff rates set to go into effect tonight. The highest is a 50% tariff for Brazilian goods unless the country ends its trial of a former president accused of attempting a coup. Trump also doubled down a 25% tariff on imports from India.
Trump is frustrated about their lack of willingness to open specific markets to U.S. producers, and he's also very frustrated about their continued purchasing of Russian energy.
U.S. businesses have to pay Trump's tariffs when they import affected goods produced in other countries. Many say that leaves them no choice but to raise prices for American consumers. Yesterday on Capitol Hill, the Senate confirmed former Southwest Washington congressional candidate Joe Kent to head the National Counterterrorism Center. He will oversee an agency tasked with analyzing and detecting terrorist threats. Kent's military career saw him deployed 11 times as a Green Beret. He also worked at the CIA. But he hasn't been successful running for office. He has lost twice in the race for Congress in Southwest Washington's 3rd Congressional District. Kent has been criticized for ties to right-wing extremist group leaders and for supporting false conspiracy theories about the 2020 election and the January 6th Capitol attack. A city council member in rural Southwest Washington is facing charges after protesting topless for transgender rights. Stevenson City Councilor Lucy Lauser, a transgender woman, was seen standing on the Skamania County Courthouse lawn without a shirt. She says it was in protest of the Trump administration's policies around transgender rights. Deputies say she was arrested after refusing to cover herself when they asked her to.
I couldn't think of a better method of protesting the president calling me a man than taking off my shirt and getting arrested for it.
Lauser was taken to jail and released after posting bail. She is charged with indecent exposure. There is now a petition to recall the counselor. Well, coming up ahead on Kong, a labeling mix-up with dangerous consequences. Why there's a recall for a popular energy drink brand. Shantae Sumter is tracking that story and more coming up on What's Trending.
In trending news today, High Noon has issued a voluntary recall of its vodka seltzer after some cases were mislabeled as Celsius energy drinks. Now, the concern here is someone could drink it without realizing it contains alcohol. The FDA says cases of High Noon's beach variety shipped from July 21st to 23rd contained cans of its vodka-based seltzer that were mislabeled. High Noon says the issue comes from a labeling error from their can supplier. Well, IHOP is the latest company to jump on the Dubai chocolate trend with some very expensive pancakes. It's unveiling the Luxe Dubai chocolate pancakes, a stack infused with Dubai chocolate flavors that includes a shaving of edible 24-karat gold flakes. Okay, IHOP says they're worth more than $100, but they won't be selling it for that price. The first 25 customers at 3 locations in New York, LA, and Austin, Texas will get them for free on Monday. The same 3 locations will offer a scaled down version minus the gold for $13. And a collab a lot of people have been waiting for. Oreo and Reese's are rolling out 2 new treats that combine flavors from both snacks. One of the new creations is a revamped version of a 2014 cookie that uses Reese's peanut butter. The new version has Oreo cookie crumbs in the filling. The other new snack is a Reese's Oreo cup, and it will replace the chocolate on a Reese's cup with Oreo's milk chocolate and white cream. And it will be filled with peanut butter and Oreo cookie crumbs. Both will be available starting in September. I don't know how I feel. I would try it if it was free. I don't know that I'm going to be lining up to buy it.
If we had it in front of us, we would definitely try. I'm surprised I haven't done that until now. That
Right.
seems like a brilliant idea, especially for people who are fans of the peanut butter.
That's true, but it seems like you could also make a little bootleg version. Buy the
Just do it
peanut
on your
butter,
own. Yeah,
dip
just
it in
scoop,
there.
yeah, just put it in yourself. Okay, thanks so much, Shantae, as always, for what's trending. And before we head to break, a live look outside from our Columbia Center Tower Cam. We hope you're having a great morning.